Hey there boys, today I'm going to be talking about why I absolutely hate primary weapons. And this might be a bit of a weird sentiment to some of you, but I know that for my more advanced players you're already going to know exactly what I'm talking about. To put it in a more simple way, I don't like primaries used for ag clear other than a couple of exceptions. So let's go ahead and get into the details on why that is and explain what you can do to play even better if you are somebody that uses primaries for ag clear. Let's get into it. So when we're talking about something like this, it's important to bear in mind that Destiny at its core is a pretty easy game. You don't really need to use the most powerful gear in the game to get through pretty much any of the content. Even the hardest content, you can use less than optimal gear and get through. However, many people still value using optimal gear due to the grindy nature of the game and wanting to clear content quickly so that they can farm weapons faster. That being said, it's still always important to remember that people do not have to use the meta, they can use the weapons they want to enjoy. However, I think it is equally important for the people that are doing that to bear in mind that the meta is a pretty strict set of gear, and that spreading misinformation about what weapons are powerful and what is not is just as not cool as shaming people for not using the meta. So with that little disclaimer out of the way, I want to talk about my opinion on primary weapons. And I think that this is an opinion shared by most of the higher end players as well, the speedrunners, the end gamers, all of that. I think that they will agree with me on this. Primary weapons are not good for ag clear, which is like the biggest thing that people seem to seek on primaries is like ag clear perks. And while primaries do have merits other than ag clear just isn't one of them. They're pretty much just objectively worse than special weapons when it comes to ag clear, with the exception of some exotic exception weapons like Sunshot and Trinity Ghoul. So for the purposes of this video, we're basically just not going to talk about Sunshot and Trinity Ghoul. I think everybody already knows how powerful they are. And in this, I'm mostly talking about legendary primaries and a lot of the exotic primaries that don't really have amazing splash. So just to sort of put it in perspective in a time thing, you typically will spend a little bit of time dealing with an individual enemy, maybe less than a second, maybe a little over a second if you miss some headshots using a primary. However, if you were to use something like a waveframe, you could just shoot it on the floor kind of near the enemy and generally kill like a ton of enemies all at once. That being said, like I said, there's still some merit to primary weapons, it's just not in the form of ad clear like a lot of people think it is. Primary weapons, in my opinion, are the kings of utility, or at least broader utility. But let's go ahead and define what utility is. To me, it is pretty much any benefit you can get from something that is not directly related to your damage output by way of either splash or damage buffs. And that goes for fire rate increasing perks as well. Some great examples of mostly primary exclusive utility are the heavy ammo finder mods on the helmet, which allows you to make guaranteed heavy ammo by way of killing enemies using primary weapons, and the seasonal mods that we get for dealing with champions. While you don't really need to use them in a lot of the easier content, you still do end up using the primaries to clear the harder content with champions like GM Strikes. Primaries also obviously have access to a number of good utility perks, and while I think they are less specialized towards utilizing them than some special weapons, which we'll get into later, they still can make great use of a lot of utility perks, things like Shoot to Loot, Slice, Demo, Pugilist, Heal Clip, or Unrelenting. Obviously, some of these perks are stronger than others, however they all fit the bill when it comes to utility, either giving you healing, or ability energy, or some other benefit like Shoot to Loot and Slice. In my eyes, primaries are definitely one of the better weapons for making use of these utility perks. For example, if you're on Stasis Hunter, which has very bad survivability, you probably have one of the best arguments to be using a heal clip weapon, that way you can keep yourself alive while still maintaining the aggressive playstyle that allows you to play quickly. But now, let's go ahead and look at the alternative primary weapons, which obviously is special weapons. So why are special weapons stronger overall? Well, to put it simply, they have their own unique utility in the form of being able to maintain their ammo when switching between them. However, they are also just more specialized into specific roles, which is really what is more important in the game these days. Because we have 3 weapon slots and obviously all of our abilities at hand, we really don't need weapons capable of filling several roles because we already have so many different slots that can do different things. Like you could have all of your ag clear in your abilities with something like Sunbracer, which also gives you survivability, which is pretty much one of the best setups for just running 2 DPS weapons and a utility gun and just not even having an ag clear weapon. So let's go ahead and have a look at what the roles are of the special weapons. Obviously, we have shotguns, snipers, and fusion rifles as just being regular DPS weapons. Fusions are a little bit weaker, but a lot easier to use than the other two, and they also have some utility uses, obviously like the Chill Clip Riptide. However, then we have the more interesting things in the form of trace rifles being the kings of utility. Basically, having a constant stream of projectiles allows you to make the best use of a lot of utility perks like Shoot to Loot. Then we have the kings of ag clear in the form of wave frames. Even if we had absolutely no perks on every wave frame in the game, I still think that they would be a top 5 weapon in the game. Wave frames are undoubtedly the kings of cheap ag clear from a weapon. And more recently, we got the Pocket Rocket Sidearm in the form of Indebted Kindness, which has extremely effective major clear and the ability to one-shot extremely tough red bars in stuff like GM activities. So now that you kind of understand all the benefits, let's talk about what you should actually use. And to figure that out, you need to look at two main things. The first one being, what activity are you trying to do, or what is your goal to accomplish? Are you doing raid DPS? Are you trying to clear a GM raid? Are you trying to do a roaming encounter quickly? What is your goal? And once you know that, you need to look at what your build does. Are you on a Sunbracer Warlock? Are you on a Stasis Hunter for movement? Are you playing Strand Titan? All of these things will determine what are the best weapons for you to use. If you already have effective ag clear on your build that is completely self-sufficient, then you don't really need to run an ag clear weapon like a wave frame. You could just use a trace rifle for utility or Indebted Kindness to clear majors effectively. However, if you're on something like Stasis Hunter, obviously you don't have very good ag clear, the abilities are not very self-sustaining, and you would want to have something like a wave frame to go along with it. Especially Forbearance, since it offers healing, and Stasis Hunter also has pretty bad survivability. Strand Titan would be a little bit more tricky. Obviously you need to have a 1-2 punch sword for the most part to increase your melee damage output, which leaves your other slot open to either utility or ag clear, depending on what the activity is. If there's going to be a ton of ads that you need to clear out, you could use a wave frame. However, if you don't really need to clear a ton of ads, you could just use a trace rifle for the utility or Indebted Kindness to cheaply take out majors from far away. Having an understanding of the roles of all the weapons should help you to decide what you want to do. And finally, we're going to talk about how to maintain double special. A lot of people are sort of intimidated by maintaining double special, they think it's hard to do, but it's actually really easy, and we're going to go ahead and look at how to do that. It is somewhat of a mindset. You want to be a little bit efficient with using your ammo, because you do have to remember that you do not just have infinite ammo to spam all over the place for no reason. However, it's still not enough of a restriction to make it slower than clearing ads with a primary. The big thing to remember is the juggler effect, which basically says that whatever the ammo type of the weapon in your hand is not the ammo that will drop for you whenever you are getting kills or standing next to enemies that are killed. It's much more complicated than that, and I have a full video breaking down all of the heavy ammo mechanics. If that's something you're interested in, I'll leave a link to it below in the description. However, just that bare bones understanding can definitely get you into the world of double special. Beyond that, there's also a number of armor mods you can use, namely Special Finisher and Scavenger mods. Scavenger mods are very straightforward. All you have to do is match the element with the weapon you want scavengers for, and if you want to get extra value out of it, make sure you match one of your heavy weapons with your special weapon. And lastly, Special Finisher, what I believe to be the most powerful individual mod in the game. This is a 1 mod slot cost mod that gives you the ability to make a ton of special ammo. All you have to do is pick up 3 orbs and then finisher any enemy, and you will get a full-sized special brick. You don't need any other supporting mods, however you can obviously assist yourself by producing orbs using armor mods like on your helmet or arms. Anyway, that's going to do it for the video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you did make it to the end, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on double special and where primaries stand in the meta. Hopefully you learned something, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye!